Hello, happy Monday. I hope you are having a great one. I wanted to come do this quick little training for you and share something that I've been seeing a lot coming up lately with my clients and with other people I've been talking to about signing clients of their own to work with. And yeah, I'd love for you to say hi if you're watching. I think that this is a really common theme right now. And I'm coming to you, I'll just give you a little context for my car because I'm getting ready to fly early tomorrow morning to Colorado for some masterminding, which I'm really excited about. And so today I have coaching calls and I'm getting ready to go to a baby doctor appointment before I hop on a plane. So I wanted to come and quickly share some words of wisdom with you about how to attract the right clients and how to get over the fear that you're going to sign the wrong ones. All right. So what I've been hearing is this idea of like, I'm afraid that I'm going to sign clients that I can't help, or I'm going to sign clients who are really, really needy, or I'm going to sign clients who won't do the work. And I wonder, have you ever had one of those thoughts? One or all of them, right? I'll be honest with you. I have. I totally have had those thoughts before. I've thought, I don't know if I can be sure I can help someone quit their job, right? I don't know if I can be sure I can help them get this result, or I don't know if I can help them overcome their self-doubt. I don't know if I can help them to, put themselves out there, right? Like they seem like really resistant to that. And so it can create this space where like, we almost don't even want to promote ourselves because we're like, well, I'm afraid of attracting the wrong client, right? Or some of the things that I have heard from some of my clients are things along the lines of, well, I don't want a client who's overly needy, right? I don't want a client who expects me to do all of the work for them or doesn't respect my boundaries, expects me to reply back to them 24/7, just doesn't want to do the work. And it's just an energy drain, right? And that's fair because we do not get into business for ourselves and do the work of growing a business so that we are basically replacing a job or a boss or a work environment that we hate with a bunch of clients that we don't enjoy either or who drain us, right? So how do you set yourself up to attract the right kind of clients? One thing, and to repel the wrong ones. And if anything that I have said is making sense to you or you have a follow-up question about that, I want you to let me know, okay? One thing that I want you to remember that's very, very, very important is that when you charge a price that feels good for you and that you stand firmly and proudly in, you are inviting your client to get a result simply by investing in themselves. Simply by investing in themselves. Here's what I mean by that. Human nature, we only value what we pay for, right? So if you are currently trying to help people for free to prove it to them or yourself that you are worth it, you're solving for the wrong problem. Now, I don't have any problem with offering free services. I have donated hundreds of hours of coaching since I started this business in 2015. There's always a purpose behind it. And it's not to try to prove to someone else that I'm worth it or try to prove to myself that I'm worth it, right? It might be to attract some leads. It might be to get in front of new people. It might be to do market research. It might be, any number of things, but not trying to solve for a problem that's internal. So what I have always found is that when I've charged a price that felt good to me to charge, and we were talking about this week in the group, so be sure to check out the post that I'm doing in there for that specific topic. When I charge a price that feels like really in line for me, I find that it's often both scary and exciting for my clients to pay that amount. It's usually both, right? And sometimes, people freak out and think, well, if I have any fear, then that must mean it's wrong. Because that's kind of how we're like trained in society. I disagree with that. Fear and excitement come from the same parts of the brain. So usually you're going to feel both. If you're feeling excitement and you're doing something new, you're probably going to feel afraid as well. Totally normal. But I have had clients tell me, like, listen, I realized I became a different person the moment that I paid that invoice to work with you, because I now realized I was the kind of woman who invested in herself in this way at this level. Even before we started working together, right? She's walking around with her head held higher, her back up straighter, right? Looking around going, I am the kind of woman who believes that I can get a result with the right kind of support, and I have a dream that I am going after, and I am no longer afraid to show up for it. So you are doing your client a result or a favor when you charge them. You are helping them to get a result even before you show up with your zone of genius thing, okay? Even before you do that, you're like, all right, yep, it costs to work with me, and I want you to believe that you are worth this and make an investment and a commitment to yourself to get this result, because I'm going to show up for you and I want you to show up for yourself, and that starts with paying and investing, okay? So I want you to realize that by charging alone, you are going to eliminate charging of a price that feels good and congruent with what you want to make, with what you're offering, right? All of that stuff, which is different for everyone. And I don't recommend Googling to see what other people are charging, because that's going to sabotage you, and that's a whole other conversation. When you charge that congruent price, you are inviting them to get a result before you even start working together. As opposed to doing it for free, which says, I'm not really sure, as a way of trying to prove yourself, right? I'm not really sure I can help you. I don't really know if this is going to work. You don't have to be committed to this because you have no skin in the game of your own life around getting this result. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's thing number one, is just by charging, you are going to help them get a result. And the other thing is, you're going to eliminate a lot of the people who are trying to give their power away to someone else, who are trying to get a result without actually being willing to stay committed to it. You are going to be bringing on somebody that you could partner with to help them get that result rather than a hanger-on, right? Now, I'm not saying that this package, if it's premium price, what you offer is right for everyone. Of course it's not. Are there ways to help people who don't have the money to be in your high-level program? Of course there are, right? I have a give back portion where I give to women in developing countries who might be living on $2 a day, who are never going to buy my premium priced program, but who are going to get mentorship like where they are, right? There are so many different ways to do that based on what your values are, right? Supporting animal rescue is another one of mine. So I take that 10% of what I pay myself and I go, I'm going to help people at every level, right? And I still do free coaching calls and I give away scholarships and I do all this other stuff. But it's because I have a business where I'm allowing myself to get paid, and because I am showing up and saying, like, this is worth it, and you're going to help you get, and I'm going to help you get a result just by being the kind of person who stops trying to figure out everything on our own for free and shows up and invests and commits to the process of change and transformation. All right? Let me know if you have questions about that. My second point is, if you're worried about attracting people who are needy, if you're worried about attracting people who want you to do the work for them, I will tell you that once they have paid to work with you, they very rarely are like this, right? And this is why, if you're going to work with people in a service where you have, where you're having conversations with them, it's like in coaching, right? Or any kind of service, like a virtual assistant or a graphic designer or a web designer or whatever, any kind of service. It's so important to have a conversation with them first and get a feel for who they are. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of times like that I learned this the hard way. So early on in my business, I've been doing this since 2015, this business. I had someone ask me on a clarity call, which is what I call my sales calls, for references. And I said, okay, like I'd never been asked for references before. I had signed clients, but I was like, okay, I could do that. So went to the trouble of asking 3 clients, different industries, different experiences, all that stuff, if they'd be willing to serve as a reference for me. And they graciously said yes. So this person never contacted my references that I had like bothered with the idea of, hey, would you be willing to take a call from this person and look for their email and all this stuff? And that happened. And the way that that played out, and she didn't become a client either. I decided, like, someone had probably told her, oh, when you interview a bunch of coaches and ask them for references, and then, that make your decision that way. And I realized, you know what? I put so much out into the world, and I offer free trainings, and I provide a lot of value, and I have a free community, and I have all these ways where people can get to know me. And if that's not enough, and then you get to talk to me, and that's not enough for you to get a feel if you want to work with me, I'm not available for that anymore. Everyone's values are different. That's what I made. I made a decision based out of that experience. And the point of how much you have online already is moot, right? Like that was just where I was in the business at that time. So whether you do or you don't, doesn't matter. But the point is the next time I got that request, I said on the call, look, I totally respect if that's part of your process, but if that's something that you need to decide what coach to work with, I'm not the right coach for you. Sorry, not sorry. I have, as another person who came to me and paid in full, said to me on our sales call, like, oh, I've been stalking you for months. And you know what I said to her? Good. That's why it's all there. Good. I'm so glad you've been stalking me, right? I know I've had other clients who, before they signed on, they reached out to somebody who was in a testimonial. They sent them a PM or whatever and said, is this the real deal? Like, is Christine the real deal? I have no problem with that. I'm an open book. But I know that one of my values is that I'm not going to provide references because my whole body of work online that I've been building since 2015 is one massive reference, right? So what are those things for you, right? So sometimes I have clients who come out of like working in a service-based relationship with someone where like maybe they were working in a nonprofit or they were working in a place where someone got the services for free or the balance was really inequitable. And so they didn't feel right about, they were scared that the people that they would bring in their coaching relationship would be that same level of like entitled. Like, I'm not going to do anything that you say, but I'm going to keep coming in and complaining because I'm not getting results. So not that everyone is like that, but when that's your experience over and over and over in any kind of job, because someone's not truly invested in the result, then you can easily feel like, as a coach, you might experience that too. Let me know. Maybe some of you have had that fear based on the work that you're coming out of. And so one of the things that you can look at there is, how do I create a space that feels safe to me inside of my offer? So meaning, if I'm afraid that if I offer email access to me or Facebook Messenger access to me or Voxer access to me, my clients are going to abuse it, then I don't necessarily have to offer those things in my first packages, right? If I'm concerned that my boundaries aren't strong enough to go ask for what I want and hold firm to that, like if I'm afraid if I get a Facebook Messenger notification, which I recommend you turn off, or I get an email notification, which I recommend you turn off, or I get a Voxer notification, which I recommend that you turn off. If I'm afraid I'm going to be thinking about it, I have to respond to it right away, and like people are going to be messaging me or emailing me 24/7, you don't have to offer that just because someone else does. Just like you don't have any business pricing your thing just like someone else does, right? Because you're assuming a whole lot of things that you know nothing about their values or their business. Excuse me. When you copy them on the surface. So like for one of my clients, what we did is go, cool. If that doesn't feel safe to you, we won't offer support between calls. We'll offer more frequent calls, and we won't offer support between calls. And then that's something that you can always add on. You can always throw in as a bonus. You can always, always, always give additional value that way because it's your business and you get to decide. But from a place of it feeling good and safe and boundaried for you rather than pressured and like, I have to have this, because then you're going to wind up resenting it. All right, so another thing that I had happen early in my coaching business that I found out very quickly was like attracting the wrong kind of client for me. And my values was that I had somebody whose husband came on our sales call. And I don't have any problem with like an equitable partnership. What I do have a problem with is if I'm going to be coaching this person, she needs to have enough equity in the partnership to be able to ask for what she wants, get what she wants, take the coaching and integrate it and act on it, and not have someone else making all of her decisions for her. Now, again, hear me say, like, I don't have a problem, and I encourage people, if they're in a partnership, go talk to your partner. If you all share finances, if you all talk about decisions like this, like, go talk. I want this to feel good for you. This is not ever going to be a question of, oh, well, if you get on the phone with me and you have to go talk to your husband or whatever, then I don't believe you're an empowered woman. Like, that's BS. And I don't want you making a snap decision when you're talking about investing thousands of dollars. I want you to feel really good about it and listen to your gut and process if you need to. I'm an introvert. I get that, right? However, someone coming on and going, oh, well, in this situation, it was like, oh, if you're going to coach my wife, this and that and this and that, that didn't feel good. I want them to be able to go have a conversation after she talks to me on the phone, right? She talks to me. She decides this is what she wants. If she decides this is what she wants, she can go to him and say, I would like to do this and I would like your support, rather than asking for permission or somebody else vetting who, based on a completely different set of values, circumstances, not even going to be the one who's getting the results or showing up for the coaching, right? So that's another example of a way that I found of weeding out, like, guess what? I'm not going to follow up with this person, because if they're that disempowered that they can't even say, I want to do this thing and I, would like to talk to you about how we can make it happen, then it's not my person, right? Maybe that person is for someone else, but it gave the point is that it gave me a wrong vibe. Like, I'm a very intuitive person and my gut was like, this is going to be trouble. This is going to be trouble if he's that controlling that he has to be on the phone with her. Then I don't think I can help her, because I'm not coaching him. I'm coaching her through him, and that doesn't feel good for anyone, right? So that's another example. So I'd love to hear from you all on what keeps you afraid of attracting the wrong clients. Is it like that you have to do the work for them? We talked about a lot of this is eliminated when they're showing up and they're paying you, right? Because they're committed to the process. They're paying you the price that feels good for you as well. And they're stepping into becoming that version of themselves. Is it that you're attracting the wrong kind of people? And if you've ever worked with a client before who you feel like was the wrong person, or you're just afraid of that, like, have you ever had an experience that you can look back on and go, okay, well, I had this warning sign at the beginning. And maybe you did and maybe you didn't. But what are you going to implement into your future, whether you've worked with a client or not? What are you going to work with? What are you going to implement into your client? What's the word I'm looking for? Client scanning. That's not the right word. Client selection process. Thank you. Selection process that is going to help you, right? So one of the things I mentioned is, like, I have an in-depth call with people where we talk about what it would be like to work together. And we really get to know each other, right? We really get to know each other. So that way the person feels seen, heard, and understood. And they know that I'm the right person for them, right? So it's just kind of like, how do you sell in alignment with your values? And do you have boundaries, and are you clear on what those are, right? And I know Kim said she's had the thought, what if I can't help them with their horse? I know that, and you also said, yeah, don't Google and compare prices, right? I no longer do this. I love that. I love that you've given yourself the freedom, because as Dan Miller says, 85% of the work that you do in building your own successful business and a career that you love is internal. So it's always coming back to, what do I want? What do I want? How do I want to serve the client? How do I serve them best? Right? How well do you know yourself, rather than trying to throw yourself at everyone else and say, like, I'm going to try to fit myself in that box, in that box, in that box. And that's when you serve congruently, and that's when your clients get awesome results. Sorry, I just got a call. Karina says, I'm sorry, this is absolute rubbish. Karina, you know what? Probably not my person. Probably not in line with my values, right? Totally get that. You said every client is valuable. You put your effort and time into those who put back into you. I totally agree. We're talking about getting clients here. We're talking about hiding out because you're getting the wrong kind of client, because you're afraid of getting the wrong kind of client. So you never get to serve anyone. So you never get to put your time and effort into anyone, and you never get to have that reciprocal relationship. But if you disagree, they're so welcome to go somewhere else, right? These are my values. This is what I take a stand for. This is how my clients sign clients with ease, right? But the beautiful thing about this online space is there is a type of person for everyone. You know, there is a type of person. There are strategies to learn from all over the place. And I wish someone had told me that when I was getting started, and I wasn't taught that there was just one way to do things, right? That is one thing that I want all of my clients to know, is that, like, you get to build a business based around your personality, preferences, and passions, and that there is no one size fits all solution for anyone. And when we get sucked into that is when we try to fit ourselves in a box, and that's not the point of entrepreneurship, right? So I would love to hear your questions. Signing the wrong person. What boundaries have you put in place? How can I solve that? How can I help you solve that? All right, it's time for me to go to my doctor's appointment. Have a wonderful Monday. I'll talk to you soon.